Suman sir. In this video, we are going to learn principles of object-oriented programming. Let's start. First, computer language. It is a language by which we can write the programs for the computer, and it is two types. One is low-level language, and there is high-level language. Low-level language is a machine-dependent language, whereas high-level language is a machine-independent language. Then low-level language again divided into two types: machine language and assembly language. Machine language. Machine language are the internal language of the computer in which the instructions are written in the form of binary, that is 0 or 1. These instructions are known as the machine code or object code. As machine language is the internal language of the computer, so no translation is required and the program execution is faster. But the disadvantage of this language is the programs written in machine language is difficult to understand and also very difficult to find the errors. It is a machine dependent language, means the program written in one machine cannot be used in other machine. Next, assembly language. In assembly language, the instructions are written in the form of mnemonics. What is the meaning of mnemonics? Mnemonics are the symbolic codes. So this language, as compared to machine language, the writing the programs is easy, also easy to understand and also easy to find the errors. But the program execution is slower than the machine language. To convert the assembly language into machine language, one translator program is used called assembler. But again it is a machine dependent language. Then high level language. In high level language, the instructions are written in the form of English, like, so it is easy to understand and also very easy to find the errors. The program writing is also very easy, but the program execution is slower as compared to machine language and assembly language. It is a machine independent language, means the programs created in one machine can be used in other machine. But to translate the high level language into machine language, two translator programs are used. One is compiler and interpreter. Some of the examples of high level language are C, C++, Java, Python and many more. Now look at the difference between compiler and interpreter. Both are translator programs to convert the high level language into machine code. But the difference is compiler translates whole source code into object code at once, whereas the interpreter converts source code into object code line by line. Second difference, compiler displays all the errors of the program together, whereas interpreter displays one error at a time. And after the debugging of that error, means correction of that error, it displays another error. Now, difference between source code and object code. Source code basically the code written by the programmer by using a programming language. Then object code is the code which is generated after the compilation of the source code. So source code is in the form of English like language, whereas object code is in the form of binary, that is 0 or 1. Source code is understood by the programmer, whereas object code is understood by the machine. Now come to programming approach. Basically there are two types of programming approach. One is procedure oriented programming, another is object oriented programming. Look at the difference. In procedure oriented programming, the more emphasis is given on the function rather than data. But in object oriented programming, the emphasis is given on data rather than function. POP follows top-down approach of programming, means the execution starts from top to bottom, whereas OOP follows bottom-up approach of programming from bottom to up. In POP, data can freely move from function to function, but in OOP, data cannot freely move from function to function. It is restricted. POP cannot model real-world objects, whereas OOP can model real-world objects. Now we are going in detail. What are the elements of OOP? So first element of the OOP is object. What is object? Object is basically an identifiable entity which have some characteristics and behavior. Any entity which we can identify, that is called an object. It is called as instance of the class. This particular line you will understand in the upcoming chapters. And the objects can be created by using new keyword, and from a class many objects can be created. Look at the example here. One example I have given here, fan. As per the definition, fan should have some characteristics and behavior. So look at the characteristics: number of wings, color, brand, price also, and behavior, rotate. As like as fan, you can give any examples like pen, table, car, mobile, etc. Second element of OOP is class. It is a blueprint or prototype for the object. Means it defines the common characteristics and behavior for the object, on the basis of which object will be created. And class is known as object factory. Means actually in factory many products can be created on the basis of a sample. Similarly, from a class many objects can be created. And class is created by using the keyword class, and it is created only once. Look at the example here. I have given an example, car as a class. Now car defines common characteristics and common behavior, like common characteristics, number of wheels, number of gears, color. All cars have these common characteristics, as well as common behavior like accelerate, brake, gear change. So all cars have these common behavior. Now look at the objects: BMW, Audi, Honda. Now these objects will hold different set of values for different characteristics. Now come to principles of OOP. So basically there are 4 principles of OOP: data abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation. First, data abstraction. Data abstraction is an act of representing the essential features without knowing background details. So what are the necessary things for the user that will be presented, and other things will be hidden. And in abstraction, generally the implementation details are not considered by the user. Look at the example here. Take an example of ATM machine. In ATM machine, only various options are presented like withdrawal, pin change, balance inquiry, like this. But how it is working, it is purely hidden. And when as an user we are going to ATM, we are not considering about its implementation. We are going for our withdrawal, we are going putting our debit card and withdrawing our money, and we came. So in data abstraction, the implementation details are not considered by the user. Now next one, inheritance. This particular principle is derived from the heredity of biology. As a child herited from their parents, and the child have some characteristics of their parents with its own unique characteristics, and this particular principle based on that. It is a principle in which the object of one class acquires the properties of another class, and the class which is inherited to another class is called as base class, and the class which inherits from base class is called as subclass. That means parents are the base class and child is the subclass. And what are the advantages in Java programming? It implements reusability feature. Suppose in a class some features are already defined, so we can reuse that feature in our own class. So it enhances the productivity of the programmer, because as a programmer we are not going to design existing codes, and the existing code can be extended easily. Look at the example here. Suppose one animal class is there. Animal class defines some of the characteristics and behavior. Now dog, cat and cow, three classes are there. They are inherited from the animal class. So they are using some characteristics and some behavior of the animal class, but with its own unique characteristics. And another example also I have given here, vehicle. Just relate that. Third principle, polymorphism. It is a combination of two words. One is poly and another is morphism. Poly means many, morphism means forms. So it is a principle in which multiple functions having same name but behave differently for different set of values. What does it mean? That means, take an example, there are 4 children and they have the same name, but the particular child will act accordingly as per the input given, and it is implemented by using function overloading, and this particular function overloading will be taught in standard 10. Now look at the example here. First example, area. This example. Now there are 3 methods: area, area, area. One area for circle, one area for square, and one area for rectangle. Suppose area is taking one decimal value as a radius. Area for the square taking one integer value as a side, and area for the rectangle is taking 2 integer values, one for length and one for breadth. Now as input will be given, that area method will be called, and that area method will be overloaded over other methods. That means if I will give a decimal value to area method, then which area method will be called? Now area of circle method will be called. If I will give a integer value to area method, then area of the square will called. If I will give 2 integer values, then area of rectangle method will be called. Similarly, another example, 3 sound methods are there. Now as per input, the sound method will act differently. This is polymorphism. Next, encapsulation. One word, capsule. So already we have seen capsules, medicine capsules, in which multiple medicines are combined to a single unit. So definition, it is the wrapping up of data and functions in a single unit called class, where characteristics are presented by data and behaviors are presented by functions. So data and functions are two different entity, but as per this principle, two entities can be wrapped into a single unit, and that single unit called as class. And in encapsulation, the implementation details are hidden. Now look at the example here. So this particular example, now class is there in which methods and variables are combined. Now look at the real world examples. This particular is a cola and chips vending machine, in which data like cola and chips are kept, and there is a mechanism, that is function, which are combined with the particular cola and chips to perform the particular task. Here what is presented? Now cola and chips. What is hidden? Now how the things are going and how the task will be executed, that is hidden. Similarly, look at the example of mobile phone also. So inside the mobile phone, lot of different entities are encapsulated with each other to give a particular task, and we are seeing the only abstraction. Now some of the inside questions: what do you mean by reusability? Differentiate between subclass and base class? How encapsulation and abstraction are interrelated? Look at the answer here. What do you mean by reusability? Reusability means the characteristics of one class can be reused in another class. So it is a feature in which one class can use the feature of another class. It is implemented in inheritance principle of OOP. Second answer, differentiate between subclass and base class. So already in the definition of inheritance, I have given the definition of subclass and base class. Again, a class which is inherited to another class is called base class, whereas a class which inherits from base class is called subclass. But second point, the object of base class holds the properties of base class only, whereas the object of subclass holds the properties of both base class and subclass. How encapsulation and abstraction are interrelated? So obviously definition, that abstraction is an act of representing the essential features without including background details, and encapsulation is the wrapping up of data and methods into a single unit called class. But second point, abstraction is only possible when encapsulation is enforced. When two things will be encapsulated, then one thing will be presented, one thing will be abstracted. So without encapsulation, abstraction is not possible. Hope you understood. So thank you very much.